Hey guys, it's me again. I'm back with another crafting video. Today we'll be doing a double unveiled, elevated intimidate, elevated frenzy pair of gloves with intelligence and ES. As always, you can find a link to the spreadsheet in the description if you want to study it or perhaps attempt the craft yourself. First thing we're going to aim for is the elevated intimidate. If you want to craft it yourself from scratch, it's on average only around 250 alteration orbs to get the intimidate mod, and make sure the base you are rolling has or gets Hunter Influence and is eye level 85 or higher before doing that. After alt spamming and you hit the Intimidate mod, there are a few different outcomes we can have. You can have the Intimidate as your only prefix and only mod on the gloves. You can have the Intimidate with one random non-influenced suffix, or you can have the Intimidate with one influenced suffix. If you get Intimidate as your only mod on the gloves, your next step is to craft on prefixes can't be changed and imprint that magic base. From here you have two options. You can reroll either including influence or chaos. Influence will guarantee a second influence mod, so you can Maven Orb right away, but it is also more expensive. Whereas chaos is a 1 in 3 to give you a second influence mod. If you go with the chaos and miss to get the second mod, use your imprint, re-imprint, and then you go again. After you got your second influence mod, you're ready to Maven Orb, and hopefully you will elevate Intimidate. Moving on to the second outcome after alt spamming, which is that you have one random non-influence suffix together with the Intimidate. If you plan on rerolling Chaos for the second influence mod, I would imprint this base and annul until you remove the random suffix, and then continue with the same steps as in the method 1, where you only had one mod, and Intimidate as your single prefix. If you plan on rerolling influence, you can imprint this base like it is, regal, craft on prefixes can't be changed, and then reroll influence, and you're ready to Maven Orb. If you fail the Maven Orb, use your imprint, re-imprint the base, and go again. In the unlikely event that you get two influence mods from alt spamming, meaning the Intimidate as your prefix and an influence suffix, you just want to imprint Maven Orb until you get elevated Intimidate, and then you re-imprint that base. This is the absolute best case scenario, which I will get back to why in future steps. But if you're planning on going for this right away, it's around 3000 alterations, or you can imprint the one mod base and augment until you get a second influence mod. From there, you just simply imprint and Maven Orb until you have the elevated Intimidate. A third way to achieve this imprinted elevated Intimidate base is if you have a rare base, if you did, let's say, step 1 or 2 here with the different methods, and you end up with a rare base where Intimidate is your only prefix and you have at least one open suffix, you can craft on prefixes can't be changed, Scour Orb, and then you have a magic base where Intimidate is your only mod, so you can imprint that. With our first base done, we can move on to the Frenzy base in step 2. For this one, I recommend just buying any glove base with Frenzy and one more influence mod on it, as long as it's a Warlord only influence, as this will be our sacrificial base when we are Awaken Orbing, and it will also most likely be cheaper than crafting yourself. However, if you still want to craft this base yourself from scratch, I recommend doing it on eye level 75 Warlord, Dex, or Strength bases. It's around 1 in 361 alterations to get the +1 Frenzy, and you're looking to get that as your only mod on the gloves, craft on prefixes can't be changed, imprint that base, then you reroll including caster, and this would guarantee that you get spell damage as a second influence mod. From there, you Maven Orb and hope to elevate the Frenzy charge. You should now have both bases ready and can move on to step 3. From here, you just want to hit an Awaken Orb. Make sure you click the gloves in the right order. So you click the Awaken Orb, you click the gloves you want to destroy, and then finally you click your base that you're going to use. After using the Awaken Orb, there are a few different possible outcomes with the amount of prefixes and suffixes we can get on our item. Those are completely RNG based and it's not anything we have control over. Our final goal is to get one open prefix with the Intimidate and Frenzy, which is the best outcome from the Awaken Orb. But if we get a random prefix, which is most likely going to happen, we're going to have to try and get rid of that. So, how can we do that? Well, you pretty much have to YOLO annul it, or if you're willing to spend some more currency, You take a look at your item. If your suffixes are filled up, you're going to have to do Reforge Keeping Prefix until you get at least one open suffix. From there, you benchcraft prefixes cannot be changed and you scour. That will remove all your suffixes from the item and then leave you with Intimidate, Frenzy, and a random prefix mod, which means you can do non-influence to influence craft. Basically removes a non-influence modifier, which is guaranteed to remove our random prefix, and adds a influence modifier. The odds are slightly in our favor here. Prefix weights for influence mods are 8,500, while suffix weights are 8,750. And if this happens to add a third prefix again, meaning you're stuck with 3 influence prefixes, you would just have to YOLO annul, which is a 1 in 3 chance. This step right here is why I highly recommend getting an imprinted elevated intimidate base, because if you were to get a third influence prefix or you miss the annul and remove either intimidate or frenzy, you can just use your imprint with the elevated intimidate on already, which saves you a ton of time and currency, and all you have to do is make a new frenzy base and awaken orb again. If everything goes well here, you will now have an open prefix and you're ready to move on to the next step. In step 4, you just want to benchcraft a random prefix. It can be anything, it's only to block a mod, and then you reforge keeping prefixes until you get a high tier of intelligence. Hopefully, you'll get intelligence as your only suffix when doing that, but in this scenario that you get the intelligence that you want together with a random mod and one open suffix, you can change your benchcraft to suffix prefixes cannot be changed, hit the annul orb, and hopefully you can get rid of that random suffix mod. When you got a good tier of intelligence as your only suffix, you can move on to step 5, which is probably the most expensive step. What you pretty much want to do here is just remove the benchcraft and ashling slam until you get 2 suffix unveils. Hopefully, you will unveil dex and intelligence or strength and intelligence together with the attack and cast speed well focused, which I crafted on my gloves and has been working really well. There are some other good mods that you can keep as well, such as dexterity intelligence together with crit chance elemental damage, or even double attributes such as dex intelligence and strength intelligence. If you get a bad unveil on your first mod, you can remove crafted mods, craft on prefixes can't be changed, try to go for an annul and remove that mod, which means you would have to re-ashling it again until you get 2 suffixes. If you get a good mod on the first unveil, but a bad mod on the second unveil, I would recommend that you sell that pair and make a brand new pair, or you will have to reforge keeping prefixes until you get a good tier of intelligence again. Just don't forget to put on a prefix benchcraft before you start reforging. Once you have the double unveil down, you are ready to move on to the last and final step, which is step 6. This step involves pretty much divining or harvest rerolling the suffixes until you get rolls you are happy with. You benchcraft the energy shield for a max roll. You can T4 Helikit for 30% quality if you didn't perfect postulate from the start. Get a lab enchant, blessed or be implicit, and you have a very nice pair of instacking gloves. I hope you enjoyed this crafting guide of my instacking gloves. The same logic we used here can be applied to any double Awaken Orb prefix with double unveiled suffix craft. And yeah, don't forget to leave a like or subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.